All About Beer receives underwriting support from Monk's Cafe. They understand the importance of independent journalism in the beer space, and their support helps fund original work. Learn how you can affordably support journalists by visiting allaboutbeer.com/support.
Welcome to Drink Beer, Think Beer, the podcast that gets to the bottom of every pint. I'm John Holl, and this episode is a special one, and I'm not even sure I needed to be around for it. It's a conversation that goes deep into the science and art of barrel aging beer. It features the wood wizards from Sun King Brewery, Revolution Brewing, and Boulevard Brewing Company. We'll get into it in just a moment, but first I'm going to remind you to please keep up with the events that we have going on and more on our social media. We're at All About Beer across the major platforms, and if you have comments, guest suggestions, or just want to reach out, you can always email me directly at johnholl@allaboutbeer.com. That's JOHNHOLL at allaboutbeer.com. We're also supported by you. Head over to allaboutbeer.com/support and learn how just a few bucks can have a huge impact in supporting original journalism in the beer space. And on that note, thanks to this episode's sponsors. Since 2009, Brewery Branding has been crafting merch that helps breweries thrive. They're born and raised in Portland, Oregon, giving them front row seats to the craft beer revolution and inspiring them to serve as your industry ally for everything branded. Apparel, headwear, drinkware, and all of the wouldn't it be cool if ideas you can dream up. Brewery Branding has been there, done that, and made the t-shirts to prove it. Brewery Branding didn't rise to the top just by being just another supplier. They're your merch mercenaries, ready to get in the trenches with you. Their expert design team, online stores, warehousing, and fulfillment services are here to make your life easier and your custom goods more profitable than painful. Whether you're refreshing your retail space, gearing up for festival season, or launching a new product in retail, Brewery Branding delivers custom goods that are on trend, on brand, and ready to succeed. From the smallest batch to the biggest order, nothing gets them more excited than raising a glass to your success. Visit brewerybranding.com to learn more. Today's episode is brought to you by Stomp Stickers. Stomp makes it easy for breweries to stock up on the essential packaging and promotional supplies all in one place. From beer labels and keg collars to coasters, beer boxes, and more, they've got you covered. Plus, every product is backed by their 100% satisfaction guarantee, and their full-time support squad is ready to help anytime. Visit stompstickers.com and use code THINKBEER for 15% off of your first order. If you're running a brewery, owner or operator, Beer 30 by The Fifth Ingredient is the ultimate command center. The most powerful brewery management software on the market, Beer 30 handles the entire brewing workflow, from recipe development to production. Once your beer is brewed and ready, it seamlessly manages your inventory and streamlines your brewery's sales and distribution, all in the same easy-to-use platform. Beer 30 lets you get back to the beer and to the people that made you fall in love with this industry in the first place. And no other brewery management software gives you the ability to truly master your business and get the insights that you need to thrive in an increasingly competitive industry. Visit thefifthingredient.com/allaboutbeer today to learn more and receive 3 free months of Beer 30. A few weeks back during the Craft Brewers Conference in Indianapolis, we had a bunch of live recordings at Sun King Brewery. If you listen to the All About Beer podcast with Don Tess and M. Souter, you can already hear some of the shows they recorded. One of them is on IPA and the other is on intentional brewing. Both are great and you should listen to it. And of course, there was the show last week where Ashley Carter interviewed me. This episode that you're about to hear kicked off the whole experience, and it focuses on the art of barrel aging. I've long been enamored with the process and wanting to figure out how brewers know what barrels to use, how to blend, and when the beer was ready. And I can think of no better brewers to join the show to help answer some of those questions. Andrew Hood began his career in the craft beer industry in 2006. He's a 2009 graduate of the World Brewing Academy through the Siebel Institute of Technology. He's traveled around the world to learn various specialized brewing techniques. Prior to his wood and barrel managing position at Sun King Brewery, where he focuses on sour ales and spirit-aged beers, He worked for 3 other United States breweries in various areas, including production management as the head brewer developing his own beer recipes. He has assisted with Sun King Brewery obtaining medals at the Great American Beer Festival, the Festival of Barrel-Aged Beer, and the World Beer Cup. Marty Scott is the barrel program manager at Revolution Brewing and also the proprietor of Barrel Ponics LLC. Since starting his commercial craft brewery career in 2010 at Chicago's Revolution Brewing, Marty has explored nearly every facet of production, from pub brewing, packaging, cellar operations, war production and process design, quality and innovation, as well as wood and barrel aging. Since 2012, he's operated Rev's world-famous Deep Wood series with a commitment to quality, a penchant for developing novel metrics, and a passion for traditional wood-focused British ales. Coupled with his brewing pedigree, his ties to the California wine industry, and partnership with Napa area cooperage, it led him in 2023 to found Barrel Ponics LLC, a company dedicated to championing the advancement of wood applications in the greater fermented beverage industry. In addition to being a senior judge at the Festival of Wood and Barrel-Aged Beer, also known as FOBAB, since 2015, he has served as the MC of this prestigious awards for the last 2 years. And finally, Quinn Reeder is the lead brewer and barrel program manager at Boulevard Brewing Company in Kansas City, Missouri. With over 11 years in the brewing industry, 5 of them at Boulevard, Quinn oversees a 17,000 barrel annual barrel-aged beer program that has grown steadily. A Missouri native, he is passionate about crafting exceptional barrel-aged beers that are both high quality and approachable, aiming to satisfy longtime enthusiasts while welcoming new drinkers into the category. He takes pride in sourcing local ingredients and materials, bringing the spirit of Missouri to every barrel, from the beer itself to the oak and bourbon barrels used. Recorded live at Sun King Brewery in Indianapolis, here's the conversation. Barrel aging is nothing new for beer. Obviously, wood was one of the early vessels that brewers used. In the modern craft movement, you all and plenty of others have refined it and made it better and done some really cool things with it. What do you see as the sort of state of barrel-aged beer in America at the moment, and where is there still promise that's unfulfilled? And since you're closest to me, Hood, I'll start with you.
It's unfortunately we've seen a lot of decline a little bit with this part of the industry. Unfortunately, obviously with what has been going on in the industry in general with closures and so on, but I really think that some of the younger beers that we're actually going to try some here in a minute.
Okay.
Some of these younger, faster turns with oak, kind of going back to like quick lagering, for instance, in like a bunch of different oak casks, and kind of using those vessels really as like a new segue to barrel aging. It doesn't have to be the 15, 24 month beers anymore. It could be 6 weeks, 4 weeks, just add a little bit of nuance to it. So that's what we're really starting to pick up more of that, and do more lagering, because why not?
Okay.
Yeah.
Marty, what about you? What do you see as the state of things right now?
The stave of the industry?
Oh, man, what a missed opportunity.
I've been hanging on to that one for like 3 minutes.
Thanks for picking that up.
Yeah. I've never been more excited about what I'm doing in the industry, both for Revolution as well as representing a couple of companies that I absolutely adore through Barrel Ponics. It's never been a better time for me to have this job with my suppliers, Midwest Barrel Company and Creative Oak. Together, we're still oaking barley wines and stouts in bourbon barrels, but now we can really dress those up. We can augment our barrels and kind of put a little English on the ball, so it's not just this ballistic aging. And my stouts and barley wines, I think, have never been better. They've never been more compelling. But I'm excited about oaking lagers as well. Revolution Creative Oak and Goldfinger Brewing out of Downers Grove, Illinois. We just released batch 3, is the second canned batch, but batch 3 overall of their original lager. It's a Helles. It's breathtaking. One of my favorite beers in the world.
That's high
and
praise. Yeah.
they let me oak it using Creative Oak products. So it's a single origin fire toasted French oak, and we did the oak extraction in a keg and kept that in the cooler for 6 to 8 months, and then brewed a fresh batch of Helles and blended that oak concentrate to taste into the fresh batch. So it's longitudinally oaked on new wood, and then it's blended to taste into fresh beer. So the beer is simultaneously aged and totally fresh. And so we can do this. We can do ballistic aging, like Goose Island pioneered 30 years ago. But I think we can do a lot more exciting things now. I don't think there's a single beer style in the world that we can't responsibly oak.
Cool. All right, I want to come back to that in a minute, but I want to hear your thought, Quinn, on just sort of the state of things right now.
So the way that I think of the state of things of barrel aging is probably a little bit opposite of what you guys think. So I think that barrel aging beer, putting wood into beer, is kind of the last stance of what craft beer means. I mean, that might be very, very like black and white divisional, but everyone right now is trying to get all of their beers as cheap as possible and just make them as good as possible. We're putting enzymes into the beers and things like that, but you can't fake oak, you can't fake tannins, you can't fake any of that. So with what Marty's saying, we have a beer right now that we just came out with about 4 or 5 months ago. It's called Wood Baron, but it's basically a 1/3 barrel-aged beer, 2/3 fresh beer. And what we're doing is we're pumping up the tannins with just staves and all kinds of different oak work in that. And what you're also getting with that is a lower ABV beer that has oak into it, which is another thing that consumers aren't used to. So anytime you think of a wood-aged beer, everyone thinks that they're going to be in the double digits of alcohol.
Sure.
And right now, I think that we're doing a lot of other things right now in the industry that we're making we're trying to bring the alcohol down with oak, and it's getting some consumers really excited, I think. And
there's definitely a shift going towards that. I think it's not just it's not just your barley wines and things like that. It's lagers and anything that could be sub 6%.
Yeah, I mean, we have a 4-grain porter that we put in wood.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Does that go to that responsibly oak that you said, that you talked about, Marty, of just because I feel like for a while in the barrel aging craft world, it was this blunt instrument, or it was, wow, we have what's perceived as really good, a Provenance barrel of, cool whiskey or something. We're just going to throw a big dumb stout in it and people are going to drink it and it's going to be great. But a lot of them were pretty hot. There wasn't a lot of nuance to it. There wasn't, they were fun, but it was just a blunt instrument. And so when you said responsibly oak any beer, I like that just because it speaks to the nuance, at least in my mind as a consumer. Is that fair?
Yeah, I certainly hope it's fair.
Okay.
So just responsibly oaking is, we don't need this blunt instrument. It's fun to do, and I love that you call it Big Dumb Stout. Thank you, Dustin Krall, lead brewer at Firestone Walker, for introducing me to the term Big Dumb beer. I use it a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can have nuance, and we can have it not just be this ballistic approach. We can make our artful manipulations now. We can, through blending, we can oak to the exact desired intensity that we want. It's no longer just, well, whatever you get, because that's rolling the dice, right? So responsibly oaking is, the right amount of oak, the right variety or varieties of oak to fit a particular style, and not allowing a bourbon barrel to oxidize a Helles just to get wood into a Helles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on that too, I think a lot of people contribute barrel-aged or oak-aged beer to spirit. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of people that actually haven't had absolutely... Okay, I just gotta...
It's very hard to hear Quinn. Okay. All right.
Can you hear me now? Is that great?
Is that better? Okay.
Anyway, so I think...
These guys, this table...
Louder. All right.
John's first podcast of CBC. We're dialing it in.
How about now?
We're so loud in our headphones.
I know. All right,
Why don't everyone just come on over here. Move your tables. Come up. Yeah. or stay back. I don't care.
Yeah, rather you not hear us talk, actually. But
right.
Listen to the podcast.
Yes, you guys just got to get right up on the mics. That's the big thing.
All right, so I'm
going
to get
to the point where it feels uncomfortable.
I am right on the mic.
Yeah.
Okay, so can
There we
everyone?
go.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. So anyway, what I was saying is, I think that like a lot of people contribute wood aged or barrel aged beer with the spirit character involved, and I think there's a lot of people out there that whenever they hear about a barrel aged beer or they hear about a wood aged beer, they don't understand what actual wood does to a beer. As the same thing you're saying, a blunt instrument. I mean, there's a lot of beers back in the day that you didn't really care. As long as the barrel was wet and you got a little bit of spirit in there, that's all you wanted to contribute. Contributing oak and contributing tannins and different toasts is like actually pretty new in the barrel aging process. I mean, we really just started about like 5 or 6 years ago. Like really actually like implement like using oak as wine does in beer is very new. I think that a lot of people don't understand. Like we're not using oak and wood in a way to like just make it like spicy and like have a spirit character. We're using oak and wood in a way to like dry it out. We want that like tannin profile to like dry your mouth out whenever, I have a beer that finishes at 23 Plato, but if I oak the hell out of that thing, it'll fucking drink.
Yep.
So
Absolutely. A 4-year bourbon barrel, it's going to be the youngest bourbon barrel you can get. It's already told, about 90% of its story to bourbon in 4 years. It's about 70% of the oak extract in the first year and about 30% of what remains every year after, or so I've been told. That after 4 years, you're down to 10% extractable oak. Even if you have a sopping wet barrel with maybe 2 gallons of whiskey sequestered in the wood fiber, that is a 25th of the volume of that barrel. So now you're up to maybe 15% of that barrel story is still unlockable in a 4-year-old barrel, right? Now let's talk about a 10-year Weller barrel or something like that. Fantastic spirit. And it makes products sell. And it tells a compelling story and sets an expectation. But if you're trying to really highlight the oak character or the barrel character, there's really not a whole lot much barrel left. But the barrel is still, good whiskey is better than bad whiskey.
Okay.
Always.
And in these vessels, if you really want to put the spurs to it, you can add some new wood and turn the year back to year 0 on that barrel. And you're still going to be getting the bourbon. You're still going to have the oxidation of your sugars. You're still going to have the evaporative concentration that we get from a porous environment. You're still barrel aging it. You're still doing it the hard way, but you're adding an oak adjunct to an oak barrel in this case. And now we can really play with these weaponized finishing gravities that have really high, intense beer flavors and malt flavors, but we can balance that with a combination of oak and alcohol, and we can start seeing legs in the glass, which will tell you you're going to have a pretty dry experience in most cases, because we can really amp up the hydrophobics and these tannins and give you a dry finish on otherwise an incredibly sweet beer. So it just adds to the dynamics of the drinking experience, and all of a sudden that 19.2 ounce can of double bourbon barrel aged French oaked barley wine, rather than looking for 5 friends to drink it, now you have one on a Tuesday and you wonder if you should get the other one out of the fridge, because it's balanced, it's drinkable, right?
and like also like big dumb beers. I love making big dumb beers.
Sure.
But there's something that I like to do whenever people come to like my cellar. What I'll do is I'll like pull nails on like 2 different barrels, and I'll be like, here is a 18-year Elijah Craig, and then I'll be like, here is a Maker's Mark. Can you tell the difference? And as soon as I say it and I say those 2 barrels, they're like, yeah, absolutely. And then I tell them that it was a Wild Turkey barrel. The spirit character, in my mind,
it's all mental.
It's all hype.
Yep.
Yeah.
But what we're really talking about here is like not the spirit, not the barrels. It looks good on a label. It gets people excited. But if somebody's looking for like any sort of like revolution or any sort of like revolution, but like
Hey, I found one.
yeah, any sort of like actual like development into beer. I think that our industry in barrel aging is so clunky and heavy that you need to like look into what's going on in barrel aging right now, because we're getting a lot more delicate with what we're doing. And I think that barrel aging has a little bit of a bad name just because of hype, like Eagle Rare barrels, and but like actually what we're actually doing is using oak now rather than when we weren't.
I just ordered 100 Eagle Rare barrels.
Yeah, I bet I can order 100.
That's a flex.
I bet 100 Heaven Hill whiskey barrels will taste just the same.
I mean, the age of the bourbon, the longer it sits in there, the oakier it does get.
All right, okay,
it's
all right.
concentrating.
Yeah.
After so much time, even the whiskey is done getting wood from the wood itself, and it only just starts increasing its woodiness through evaporation, because the water and alcohol will evaporate at their own rates, but the wood stays put. So the difference in color between a 10 and a 20-year-old bourbon isn't because you've got more wood extracted into the 20. It's because you've had more evaporation, once you've pretty much neutralized the barrel after a handful of years.
Yeah.
And they got to eat, so they got to charge more for that darker brown water. But the darker that is, when that goes into the beer, in extreme cases you can tell the difference. If you gave me a bourbon barrel and a rye barrel side by side, I could probably guess with maybe 60% confidence. But yeah, it's the barrel tells a great story. It looks great on a label or a menu. Again, we're trying to sell these beers. It does make a difference, but I think the difference has been either exaggerated or just misunderstood over the last 30 or so years.
Is that fair?
That's
Andrew,
fair.
do you think?
Yes,
Okay.
that's fair.
Okay. I know you guys talk a lot about bourbon barrels, and at some point you probably want to talk about other things, but I've just sort of been curious of when people started, when you go back to some of those early days of Goose Island where they were easy to get, and then when people started their barrel programs 20 years ago, it was easy to get, and then it got really hard to get, and now you're talking about 4-year-old whiskey, and it seems like that's what a lot of what makes it out onto the market, Eagle Rare aside. How has the bourbon barrels, how have they evolved for the beer space even in the last 5 or so years?
Before you say that, I don't want to discredit like whiskey and bourbon and like the thing. But,
yeah.
While saying that, like the way that it's evolved, especially what's happened here in the last couple of months, there's been so I've been in charge of Boulevard's barrel program the past 4 years. Whenever I started buying barrels, they were a reasonable price, and then until just about like 4 months ago, they had gone up 3 times. And then now that we're not exporting barrels out of the United States, barrels are back down. So like the biggest thing about that is you need to keep true to your program. You need to keep true to what you're doing. There's a lot more bourbon barrels on the market right now, but you have to be a little bit more choosier of like how you're getting them, how they're allocated. One thing that I've said, and I've talked to Marty about it before we even had this podcast, is that I think there needs to be a lot of more communication in just strictly like barrel aging industry of breweries.
Okay.
Because you can get an Eagle Rare, you can get a Pappy, and then me and Jordan at Firestone Walker actually did this experiment to where we got the same load of barrels at the same time, and we dumped it, and the color, one was washed and one was straight. So that being said, it's just like there's a lot of stuff going on right now.
Damn.
To where you need to like be very, very sure of like who you're buying your barrels from, how it's allocated, everything like that. It's very important to do those kinds of things. There's a lot of I don't know. It's with that, I guess I say, bourbon barrels are getting cheaper. So I think that hopefully now breweries that whenever COVID happened and all this stuff happened, they're going to be able to start investing back into barrel programs and get that program back up. And we're going to have a lot more people doing that. So I guess, was that an answer? I'm not sure.
There was one in there.
Yeah.
I think so.
Thank you.
But I think
go for it, Andrew.
the 4-year casks and things like that, we're noticing there's just a massive growth in craft distilleries too. So you are seeing, I think, a lot more of those come through because people are buying from MGP and obviously selling a lot to Midwest Barrel and some of the other great brokers that we have. But I'm seeing that boom. And then also when they were trying to squeeze the market with whiskey and not export as much and things of that nature with Buffalo Trace and Willet. And
yeah, I didn't get Buffalo Trace for like years.
Yeah.
And I'm in a different situation than you guys. Like talk about like my volumes, but I rotate about 7,000 bourbon casks a year. So I'm buying trucks and trucks. I'm not looking at this as like, that's a bad barrel. I'm like, that's a bad truck.
yeah.
And when you're talking about a bad truck, and you get a second, third, and then so you just got to like, it's much different. I think that maybe you guys have a little bit more of a hold on like the pick market. I think that like whenever I'm looking at barrels and I just like, I can't buy this distillery. I'm not going to say it out loud because I know that they don't dump enough barrels in a week. So those barrels are sitting out for 3 weeks. And by the time I get that into my brewery, the rings are falling off. What do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do? You know?
Yeah, we definitely have, we're the complete opposite. Where, like, it might be 1 exotic barrel. It could be 10 exotic barrels. But, yeah, our
Baby, I got
program's
so many exotic barrels.
so exotic. But, yeah, like in our clean side of our program, we have about 300, bourbon, port, you name it. But, yeah, not 7,000. And it is a lot easier for us to go hand pick things here and there. We've got a lot of great relationships with local distilleries as well, and a lot that actually have started buying from people like Woodford, and they're contracting those things, which is really impressive and probably really expensive on their end. But then I get the benefit of that, which is great. And they're selling them for nothing.
Yeah, and also another thing to say is like craft distilleries. I think when it forced, I think not only me but like even other breweries to like go and like actually work with distilleries. So right now I just get all of the like barrel dumps from this local distillery, Holiday Distilling in Weston, Missouri. Shout out. But so we actually made a deal with them to where we just take one of our like trucks there and like we get all their barrels. They sell them to me for like a great price and everything like that. But that being said, even with that, I still am not getting enough allocated barrels to my program, and it's hard to. We used to have like a branding on our rye on rye beer. We used to only like strictly do Templeton, but we make too much of it now to where Templeton can't supply like the barrels, so we have to take the badge off. So it's hard to keep a profile especially with what's going on right now. I would say it's pretty scary.
Marty, do you see that? Does that?
Sorry,
It got so deep.
Hey, anyway.
Are there parallels at your brewery to that as well?
Yeah, I think for context, when our stacks are all the way full, we're flirting with about 1,400 units, and we are probably rotating 60 to 70, maybe 80% of those in a given year. So we've got Dr. Colonel Ben Lowski here shaking his head, and the Ethans. We got a crew from Midwest Barrel here. They could tell you a lot more about how many barrels I order because they track it and I don't. When I've got big dumb beer in a stainless tank and it needs a wooden home, just a quick email away. And we go back so far. Midwest Barrel and Revolution, I've been pretty insulated from a lot of the volatility. I support them and I pay them because they watch out for me, and I don't get bad trucks of barrels. and they're always getting better at their jobs, and it just makes it easier and more stress-free for me. I didn't like when the Buffalo Trace supply dried up a while ago, but I'm happy that it's back. Those barrels, I mean, yes, it's great for branding, but those barrels are uniquely built like brick shit houses. They're usually in excellent condition. And the last truckload that I got, there was a pool of whiskey in every single one of them. I was gobsmacked. I haven't seen that in ages. I'm pretty bullish at Revolution on the state of barrels, but again, I owe a huge debt of gratitude to Midwest Barrel Company for that.
I'm not sure if you guys even know that I run a barrel program. Talking Midwest Barrel right now. I'll give you those projections.
I was going to say, honestly, with Midwest Barrel, I think I go after the weirder stuff that you guys produce. I'm like, give me all the stupid things. And then I drive down and I go pick them up. But we've gotten some really great things. Actually, there are some collaborations that are going to be on tomorrow that have utilized some of the silly dumb things that I've gotten from you guys. So
I think that's one thing to be said.
I am, by the way, going to invoice you guys for all of this free advertising.
I got to shout something out now too. So I think the whole thing about like that is like everyone has a guy, right? Mm-hmm. But like so Cask Island Trading Company, Todd's the demand.
Todd's tight.
Todd's tight. But that again though, the market and how the market is right now is like, I think it's opening up just the barrel industry to like what's going on. So like we're actually like looking for more of people that are like taking care of the barrels.
Yeah.
Rather than what are you doing?
Oh, I'm just reading the label on this aluminum bottle of Sun King in Sierra Nevada.
That's a flex.
Stingray.
It's just a little collaboration we did with Sierra Nevada.
Oh yeah, not a big deal.
Maybe you've heard of him, Ken Grossman.
Yeah. So this is a West Coast Pale Bock that we did.
Did they have a barrel program?
They have a barrel program. They do. But we did.
Did they come here to learn from you guys? Is that how that works?
They're over there on that table right there.
Yeah, you know. I had to show them some things. No, I'm just kidding. But we did a West Coast Pale Bock, and we had been talking about this for over a year. So it's really neat because we used some of their estate grain as well in it, and then we used some Indiana rye as well. Here, hold on. Here we go. But we got some Grand Marnier barrels.
Oh my God!
And some gin and some absinthe. So
this is stupid.
And then we dry hopped it again.
Yeah, I gotta say that
this is so good.
When we get into some of the more, I don't want to say esoteric, but the less standard barrels, it gives me pause because if it's not done responsibly, it could go sideways in a hurry. A lot of the worst barrel aged beers I've ever tasted were in these experimental or esoteric barrels, and I haven't tasted this yet, but on first whiff, I can't wait to taste this because it smells like the best things of all of that.
So walk me through that, right? Because you bring up this interesting point where with bourbon, you know what you're looking for. I imagine with certain wines, you know what you're looking for as well. Mm-hmm. But when you get like a Grand Marnier barrel, which like I don't recall hearing too many other brewers in the past like getting some of that. And gin is often tough to come by, and I hear about Scotch barrels showing up now and again. Which harder, like good Scotch barrels, like a little bit harder. What kind of research when you get some of these? Quinn, you're saying like I got exotic barrels. Like when you get stuff that you're unfamiliar with or not working with regularly, where you can maybe do it in your sleep, what kind of research are you putting into those barrels and then the beers that you eventually want to put into them?
Well, luckily for this one, this was planned. A lot of times, actually, I don't know where Ethan went. Literally, sometimes the stars have aligned for us, and he's got something that's ridiculous that I'm like, oh my gosh, I have the perfect beer for that. That just like perfectly lined up. But for the most part, really for some of the exotic things, I will wait for something to show up like that or check out his inventory. If we already have produced a beer, a lot of times we have not produced that beer. So luckily I've got storage that's cold and about 90% humidity. And I'll just store some of these exotic things in there and then utilize it whenever that beer is finished. And it's nice because we have a test facility. It's about 25 minutes from here, a test brewery.
Oh, okay.
That's in Fishers, and it's a 15-barrel system, and we can go bananas on that thing. So we have 2 kettles. We've got a steam kettle, and then we also have a direct fire kettle. So we have options. And to make big, stupid, dumb beers, it's pretty
you got
awesome.
a direct fire? Oh,
yeah,
my God.
and it's so awesome.
I'm
Especially for Scotch ales.
Super jealous of that.
But yeah, so a lot of times, I don't know. It's like things have aligned for us. Like we made a Carajillo inspired beer with New Belgium, and
I don't know if I know what Carajillo is.
It's
I don't know that I know who New Belgium is.
Oh, they're a little guy. But
do they have a barrel program?
They have a barrel
yeah, barrel aged Voodoo Ranger Juice Force. Yeah.
But I'm not shitting you. Like the stars aligned. This was an already planned beer, and then Ethan's like, "Hey, I got these like coffee liqueur barrels," and I'm like, "How did that just happen? That just fell on my lap." So a Carajillo is espresso and liquor 43. It's half and half, and then there's generally like a twist of like an orange. So what we ended up doing is we spiced the beer. We made basically an imperial stout, and then used a lager yeast strain, and then aged it in these coffee liqueur barrels for about 8 months, and then hit it with vanilla, and it is dumb.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like absolutely stupid.
Yeah.
Like every time I go on a trip, you have that one beer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even thinking about it. I'm going to drink this. We're going to keep drinking, and like Tuesday, 3 weeks from now, I'm going to be like, holy fucking shit. Like this beer is going to stay in my mind for the rest of my life. It's fantastic the way that you like used all that. I've always wanted to work with like bitter barrels and like things like that. I just haven't played that game yet.
We actually sent a double barrel version of Cherry Busey to Fobab, and I think we broke Fobab on that. They actually said it was too exotic.
Oh yeah, they
and I was
you
like,
out. No, I saw them taking you out of there.
Yep.
But then,
how can you be too exotic for Fobab?
Yeah, they were like, "This is way too out there." I'm like, "That is awesome. I've hit a new high."
Yeah, what kind of medal do you get for that? That's
right. Some sort of participation award.
Sorry, we can't all get medals.
Well, it's funny you should say that we can't all get medals, because last year I gave medals to both of these guys at Fobab. I had the pleasure for a second year in a row of hosting the awards, and I got to call both Boulevard and Sun King up to the stage, and Firestone Walker too. It's always nice to call your friends' names up.
Yeah. You did pretty well yourself too.
Did I? I can't remember.
Does Revolution have a barrel program? I know about your IPA.
That's a good one. Yeah. Anti-hero.
The House of Hopwater. Come on.
Yes.
But can I jump back to this question? Unless you guys just totally want to just railroad past me on this one. But like doing the research on unfamiliar barrels and like what you put into that and how, you know, like what you might learn along the way, and even sort of into dovetailing into that, like what you might have learned from some of these other industries that you butt up against, the whiskey industry, the wine industry, how they're making things, how they're putting it in barrels, if it's evolved your program as well. So it's sort of this two-pronged question now. But
yeah, I mean, so I would say like for me, I have to be a little bit more ham-fisted about some stuff. So what I'll usually do if I have a barrel, and like I'm only talking about like exotics, I already have like kind of the information how barrels age with the beers that I'm doing. But for instance, I am doing a weird collaboration with a maple syrup company right now. And so what I'm doing is I'm buying the barrels for the maple syrup company to age their maple syrup in. And then the maple syrup company is going to send their barrels to me. But before I did that, I just had to buy like a pallet. So I just got like 4 of them just to see if everything was cool. But then on like other aspects of that, like I will get like one-off barrels. Like every once in a while you just get like a little surprise from like your broker or whatever. But it's really hard for like a brewery our size to produce anything that's less than 30 barrels. So it's super annoying on that aspect. I mean, we can do it, but as far as like research, I just had a rum barrel-aged beer that we're getting ready to release in like 4 months, and I took a leap on this like American rum. one of the things that I will say is like what I've stayed away from is like getting any barrels that are sourced outside of the United States, mainly just because of customs and the way that they're shipped over.
Sure.
So we used to get tequila barrels, we used to get like rum barrels and things like that, but at the end of the day, when you really think about what we're doing with those barrels and like how like I think the spirit is part of it, but it's not the forerunner of the whole thing. So I've just kind of like switched my program up to like putting in trust. I really have, and then I'll have like one-off like barrels that is like really great, and then we'll produce a 30-barrel batch. Then we'll just distribute that through our tour and rec company, and then after that, if people like it, then we'll make fucking 600 goddamn barrels of it.
I love the 30-barrel test, little tester.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's so annoying.
So there's a couple ways that I'll do it at Rev. We barrel aging, or the barrel aged beers, the Deepwood series constitutes roughly 2% of our annual volume, but it's something like 85 to 90% of our retail income. So we sell 4 or 5 releases a year, a couple beers in each one. We try to get that brewery tap room packed with paying customers, and we want to give them something super exciting. Draft variants, right? So we're always looking for a couple of unique things, and we like to do as much differentiation between the base release and the draft variant with wood as possible. So I'm always tinkering around with 1 or 2 new bourbon barrels that I haven't worked with. I'll get some intel from my supplier, Midwest Barrel. We just, I talked to Ethan, and he says, yeah, these barrels are cool. Like, well, I'm not going to order a bunch of them
Or me on a pickup
truck. Or Quinn, yeah. Sweetheart brought me 4 barrels from Holiday last FOBAB. Thanks again, man.
No, sorry, just another call out.
So it's really easy just to buy 1 or 2 barrels and fill them. And if it works out and it can stand out as a draft variant, great. Concept more or less proven. If it doesn't, well, there might be a 200 oak barrel blend that's going into package for a particular release. And if one isn't lights out, or even if it's, it's rarely substandard, but as long as it's not infected, it can go in the blend.
Yeah.
Right. So we learn about it, and we either feature it on its own or it gets blended away. Now we're doing what's called the 2010 variant collection, and it's basically packaged draft variants. But we've got a 40 head KHS can filler. So the smallest volume that we can reasonably do is about 14, 15 brewing barrels. And for that, they need to be a little bit more ostentatious. These are retail only. It's the spirit of the draft variant, but it's made at a sufficient volume that it can actually leave the brewery. So for that, again, your supplier relationship is only going to be a benefit to you. So if they know what they're talking about and they know what you want, they have information sheets. If I was going to be buying a bunch of French import barrels or something, we did some of that very recently. So yeah, trust your supplier, and sometimes you just got to grip it and rip it, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, can you blend it? Awesome. You lick your wounds and you find another variant to put on tap.
Yeah, I don't own a brewery. But I know that like with all of us, like the reason why like usually we're able to make mistakes because when we really hit it, it's like so good. So what Marty was saying is like blend it away. You always blend things away. That's just what happens in nature. But we're really able to like kind of have that like craft. Like, let's just try this out. If it doesn't work, it's fine. It's just volume.
Right?
Yeah. I know that's not romantic at all, but that's how it works, man.
I mean, so I like that you brought that up, right? Because there was, and I think there still is in some cases, the romanticism of barrel-aged beer. And even with some of those big, dumb stouts, there's something that was exciting about them. And one of the things that always stood out was how long was it in wood? Was it, and I think folks were doing quick turns, but didn't really want to say 6 weeks in wood, whereas 17 years the stout has been aging in the back of our there's a number threshold where it was at least a year, but 3 was great and 5 was incredible, just as a selling point and for whatever reason. But I think this corn lager is a good example of that, of quick turns and short time to just get maybe some of that dryness, what you want out of the wood in a quick period of time. And you guys have all been kind of messing with this, or I know Marty, you have, is sort of messing with this of quicker times and then blending.
Sometimes oak is appropriate, but oxidation isn't. The case in point, the Goldfinger Oak Original Lager project. Sometimes fresh is just king, but a really big, strong, boozy, stouter barley wine is, even in stainless, will benefit from a rest in a lot of situations. But those oxidative notes are kind of paramount to a barrel-aged barley wine or barrel-aged stout. We're turning fresh bready maltiness into fruity maltiness. But you don't just want... If you think about fresh bready maltiness being your biscuit, and you think about your aged oxidized malt being your jam, you don't just want the biscuit, you don't just want the jam, you want jam on a biscuit, right? You look at goose manufacturing. There's a reason that it's 1, 2, and 3 year aged unfruited lambic, and not just a blend of 2 year aged. You need those components. It's like having 2.1 stereo as opposed to mono. But so in a barrel situation, everything is what I call the trinity. You have extraction, oxidation, and evaporative concentration. So we make every move with those 3 points in mind. How is this activity going to affect our extract? So the youth of the barrel, is there or is there not fresh oak added to it? How long is it sitting at what temperature in your barrel room? Are you topping? If you're topping, are you topping with nitrogen or CO2, or are you topping with other barrel-aged beer? So all of a sudden we have all these options. I going back to putting English on the ball rather than just having this ballistic aging process. But what's good for a barley wine is probably not going to help a Helles very much.
Yeah. I mean, you want to jump in on this, Andrew?
Yeah. So what we're sampling up here is the Brewers of the Corn. So this is the commemorative beer for the Craft Brewers Conference. We just wanted to do something a little different. So what we ended up doing is just I had a bunch of bourbon barrels lying around that I just recently emptied. We have a steam generator. That comes in handy. That's a great tool to have. My God. And what we ended up doing is we rinsed all the barrels and then hammered them with steam and basically just killed the barrel and tried to wipe out as much flavor as possible, residual bourbon and residual beer flavor that was left in there. And then we took and filled those casks with this beer and let it lager for about 5 weeks. So we wanted to add a little bit of sweetness back to it, just naturally from the wood sugars. And then we just wanted to add a little nuance and kind of round it out, as it would just add a little bit more character to the actual beer. So
cool.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
It really is.
Yeah.
So, God, I mean, I have all of these. I'm looking at the time. There's all these things that I want to talk about. You three. So the way this show came together is we're doing this here at Sun King. So I wanted Andrew to be on this panel, and then I said to Andrew, "Hey, who do you know that's coming into town that you would want to sit next with on this show?" And he said Marty, and I was like, "Oh." So, sorry, Quinn. Quinn's like, why didn't you say me?
I was like, damn it. I'm very used to this.
Then I said to Marty, hey, who would you suggest to have?
Who would your second pick be?
No, it's Marty's first pick. It's Marty's first pick, and it was you. So obviously, and listening to you three, I mean, you're all aligned. It seems, or mostly, with where you stand and what you want your programs to be, and you've put a lot of thought and time and attention into it. And this is me saying this, not you guys. There's also a lot of mediocre beer that's out there these days, and I'm always worried when I walk into a brewery that has and I'm doing air quotes here, barrel program. but they're not really giving it a lot of thought. It's like, yeah, we got some stuff, we threw some stuff in it, we're going to see kind of what happens. And it's like, great, we all love acidity.
Or soy sauce.
Or soy sauce. Or soy sauce. But where would you like to see the focus, like the industry put its focus on the next couple of years of barrel aging? There's places that are closing. There's places that are sort of battening their hatches. They're figuring out who they want to be and what they want to be going forward. I think the smart breweries at this phase are plotting out responsible growth going forward while also trying to keep creativity going. And so when it comes to what you three would like to see the next couple of years look like barrel aging wise, as leaders in this space, where do you want the attention? Where would you like to see people put the attention?
So like at the end of the day, like so the trope is like beer's four ingredients, but like with barrel aging or wood or any type of way we're doing it, we're adding 2 more ingredients. We're adding wood and we're adding time. So I think that if I was going to start a barrel program out of nowhere, what I would do is I'd probably focus on making it more consumerly accessible. I would probably take down the ABVs. I'm a sucker for big dumb beers, but I think that like what we're seeing now is wood encroaching on the lower ABV like mainstream beers now. We're kind of like, I think that, and I don't know how you guys feel, but I think that with barrel aging, we're kind of starting to like get our ammo up to fight against hops.
There's a Haas hops event here.
I know.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Like, so, like, I mean,
we love hops. We love hops. Buy hops.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Give me some
buy
of
from
that.
Haas.
Give me some of that 2016 Willamette, and I'm good to go, dude. But like, anyway, no, I'm just saying, it's like I think wood, I think tannins, I think different types of wood, I think different types of like roasts and stuff is going to be a little bit more fundamental, hopefully the next 5 years. I think that you're going to be, and this is my dream, right? But you'll have like a lager, like Marty's doing with Goldfinger, and you'll have like, oh, well, I really like this wood variant rather than this wood variant. And like, I really like this barrel-aged beer that was second barrel-aged in this wine barrel and this wine barrel and not this port. Something like that. I really think that like people are using, hopefully we're going to start using wood as more of an ingredient rather than just being able to say barrel aged.
I like that.
And also just if those barrels are still in your tap room with all the kids putting their fingers in them, just dump it.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
dump it.
I mean, that's kind of what I was getting at with some of these barrel programs where it's, it's in the tap room where people are putting their glasses on it during the middle of the day, on a Saturday it's
spilling sour
and by the way,
beers all
let's
over
not
your
just
clean
be
beers.
blaming the kids. There's a lot of adults that I've seen.
It's mostly adults.
It's
actually.
mostly adults.
It's mostly adults.
That's like kids are fairly well behaved.
I homebrew. Sorry.
The random guy.
I had a pint of the younger ones. I'm basically a master brewer.
Shout out to Creative Oak for giving us a pint of the younger.
But Marty, the question to you of what you want to see the evolution, or focus on. Yeah.
Yeah. The short answer is really boring. It's quality.
Great. Say it again.
Quality. I'll use my Barry White voice. Quality. To extrapolate on that, learning about what I call Trinity. It's not just this blunt instrument that we talked about. A lot of things are happening, and it turns out we can actually control a lot more of these than we maybe thought when we started. So learning as much about what's going to happen to your precious liquid while it's sitting in a barrel, extracting, oxidizing, evaporating, and all this stuff. We want the outcome to be intentional, or my 4 favorite words in this industry: as the brewer intended. There's a lot of dropping a beer into a barrel and then you get what you get, and that can work out for you sometimes. But It's not going to necessarily give you repeatability or nuance or complexity and all these kind of subjective qualities. But pairing that kind of intentional art making with good hard-nosed brewing science and clean discipline, the Cellarman, like the Cellarman's Bible, basically. We want you have to be a fanatic about it because so much can happen over that period of time in this porous vessel. So I think the more we can educate the younger drinkers to gravitate towards beer from our programs and other great programs, and we want the customers to get used to it and start expecting that quality or those qualities, and then it'll make making really shitty barrel-aged beer impossible for a business.
Yeah. Andrew?
I'm going to go ahead and touch on what both of you guys said. Definitely quality. We are very, very hardcore with our quality program. If it's tasting like shit before you put it in, it's going to taste like shit coming out. We are constantly just going after bangers. So if this beer hasn't even been barrel aged yet, and we're like, wow, that could probably win a medal at like GABF, that's always a good start. But yeah, 100% quality. Also, I think, especially for like the younger brew pub, could be smaller production brewery, whatnot. Definitely like lagering beers in oak, quick turns. It doesn't take that long. It could be 1 to 2 months. We had a really fun Canadian lager that we did that we actually aged in Canadian whiskey barrels. And it was called the Canadian Tornado, and it was aged in Wayne Gretzky whiskey barrels. And it was pretty awesome. Oh. And that actually aged for like 4 months and had the perfect amount of bourbon expression and light crystal. It was great. It was great. So I think you can actually do faster turns, and then you're not tying up, your barrel room or the back part of the house for 15 months. But still, if you make a banger quad, you can do that. I don't know. It's just I think I can see the future of it being lighter beers with quicker turn times.
I'm going to try to do this really quick. A couple weeks ago, I achieved probably the fastest barrel aging of all time. I got some Lee's wine barrels from Herman Story in Paso Robles. It's a winery that I've worked the last couple of years harvest at. And Lee's to them is a waste product. They have to pay someone to come pick it up. And I say, well, I want that Lee's. It's loaded with oak and acid and fruit and goodness. Yeah. So rather than paying someone to take it away, now they'll consolidate it into a couple of barrels, and then they ship me those barrels. So we did a pilot, like a 2-barrel pilot saison. And once it was done fermenting, I transferred a barrel of it into this white wine Lee's barrel, the Chardonnay barrel, that just loaded with Lee's. And then as soon as the tank went to gas, I reversed the flow. And then started racking out of the barrel back into the tank. So it never even stopped, just long enough to depressurize the tank and pressurize the barrel to reverse the flow. And then when the barrel got light enough, I grabbed it by the chime and I started rocking it. And I met this resonant frequency in the sloshing of the pressurized barrel. And I see my sight glass go to muck, right? So now I'm racking all this beautiful Chardonnay Lee's into the beer. Once that dropped out with some cold crashing, now we've got a clean all sacro wine barrel aged saison that spent literally less than 5 minutes in the barrel, and it tastes like it spent 5 or more years in the barrel. It's got everything but the funk. It's got the acid, it's got the fruit. It's incredible. So we'll be pouring that at the Firestone Walker Invitational Beer Fest under the name Saison d'Armand Blanc, which is Herman's Saison White, because we've got some red barrels and we might kind of do something similar with that. But yeah, so if your extractability is incredibly high, you really don't need the residency.
That's good.
That's awesome.
You don't get any butter off of it either, probably, with that. So.
No butter.
I like that. All right, I'm mindful of the time. I promised Andrew he'd be done by 5, and it's like 4 minutes after. So,
We're good.
But I do want to ask each of you the green door question, which we do on the show from time to time. And the premise is on the TV show The Good Place. In the final season, they introduce a concept of the green door, and the characters can walk through it and be anywhere they want, doing whatever they want to be doing. And so, if we had a green door on our plane of existence, and this conversation ended, and you could walk through it and be in any pub or any brewery anywhere in the world, where would you want to go? Who would you want to be with? And what would you like to be drinking? Quinn.
I'm already here.
Oh.
Damn it, you took it from me.
I mean, like, but to be honest, man, this is my passion. People are gonna listen to me talk about something that I love. I'm here, man.
Okay.
That's very romantic.
Marty, you have a...
I hate to sound like a kiss butt or a butt shark, but I'm going to say I'm at Chicago's The Hop Leaf drinking Oak Original Lager with my brewmaster, Jim Seaback.
I like that. Andrew?
Mine would be here with all my friends.
Wow.
And John.
Oh, man.
Right
thank
here.
you. Oh, that's...
No, it's going to be a great week, and I'm looking forward to seeing all my beer friends. So there's people coming from all over the world that I haven't seen in 10 plus years that have hit me up. So it's one big fraternity / happy family.
I like that. Yeah. Well, thanks for having us here. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers, guys. My thanks to Sun King for the hospitality and for everyone that came out to all of the shows. Next week on the show, more fun. In the meantime, go visit allaboutbeer.com. You can check out new content. There's an article on Toronado that just went up last week that you should absolutely go and check out to find out what's happening with that famed San Francisco beer bar. And you can also read the archives if that's something you want to do. They go all the way back to 1979 when All About Beer was founded. You can reach me anytime via email at johnholl@allaboutbeer.com. That's JOHNHOLL. Don't forget, you can follow All About Beer on social media at All About Beer. Before we run, here is a word from this week's sponsors. Since 2009, Brewery Branding has been crafting merch that helps breweries thrive. They're born and raised in Portland, Oregon, giving them front row seats to the craft beer revolution and inspiring them to serve as your industry ally for everything branded. Apparel, headwear, drinkware, and all of the wouldn't it be cool if ideas you can dream up. Brewery Branding has been there, done that, and made the t-shirts to prove it. Brewery Branding didn't rise to the top just by being just another supplier. They're your merch mercenaries, ready to get in the trenches with you. Their expert design team, online stores, warehousing, and fulfillment services are here to make your life easier and your custom goods more profitable than painful. Whether you're refreshing your retail space, gearing up for festival season, or launching a new product in retail, Brewery Branding delivers custom goods that are on trend, on brand, and ready to succeed. From the smallest batch to the biggest order, nothing gets them more excited than raising a glass to your success. Visit brewerybranding.com to learn more. Stomp Stickers isn't just a website. It's your custom printing partner with over 30 years of expertise. Their support squad is ready to help by phone, chat, or email. Combining top-notch customer service with a super easy-to-use site, they're all about making sure you get exactly what you need, fast. Shop with confidence thanks to their 100% satisfaction guarantee. Visit stompstickers.com and use code THINKBEER for 15% off of your first order. If you're running a brewery, owner or operator, Beer 30 by The Fifth Ingredient is the ultimate command center. The most powerful brewery management software on the market, Beer 30 handles the entire brewing workflow from recipe development to production. Once your beer is brewed and ready, it seamlessly manages your inventory and streamlines your brewery's sales and distribution, all in the same easy-to-use platform. Beer 30 lets you get back to the beer and to the people that made you fall in love with this industry in the first place. And no other brewery management software gives you the ability to truly master your business and get the insights that you need to thrive in an increasingly competitive industry. Visit thefifthingredient.com/allaboutbeer today to learn more and receive 3 free months of Beer 30. I mentioned it at the top, but the All About Beer podcast has been doing some awesome episodes lately. There's one on Guinness. There's a cool one on IPA. There's one on intentional brewing. Em and Don have a great show that airs every 2 weeks, and you can just search All About Beer on your podcast platform of choice and listen to it. Steal This Beer still has new episodes every Monday. You can search Steal This Beer if you want to. And the BYO Nano podcast for all of you small-scale brewers comes out on the 15th of every month. As for this show, Nate Schweber does our music, Jeff Quinn designed our logo, and I'm John Holl. New episodes release every Wednesday, and that's when I'll be back again to drink beer and to think beer.